Certainly, you might believe that ancient Egyptians of royal status had an easy life. However, their activities were not limited to leisurely lounging, being transported around and pampered by servants. These activities only accounted for a small portion of their time. In reality, they were extremely occupied with various responsibilities. The royal duties of ancient Egyptian rulers required them to work tirelessly. Fortunately, they enjoyed some delightful advantages as a result of their position. Today, we will delve into the true nature of life as an Egyptian royal. But before we time travel, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Interesting Day. So let's set sail down the Nile. From approximately 3150 to 30 BC, Egypt was governed by pharaohs, who were kings and queens. Besides indulging in luxurious food and drink, these rulers dedicated their days to overseeing the religious, economic, cultural, and political aspects of Egypt. Their time was largely consumed by the constant presence of people around them, leaving no room for solitude. These companions consisted of court officials, family members, noble servants, and royal bodyguards. Interestingly, the pharaohs had the privilege of selecting their entourage, often favoring friends and relatives for these coveted positions. This practice of favoritism is not a modern concept, as it was prevalent in ancient Egypt as well. Imagine having the servant take care of your bathing and dressing routine, saving you from all the effort. Well, Egyptian royals enjoyed this luxury. In the morning, after getting out of bed, pharaohs would be attended to by servants who prepared them for the day. These servants had close proximity to the pharaohs, who probably had morning breath that wasn't so pleasant. Additionally, these servants would bathe the rulers, with some pharaohs, like Hatshepsut, even using perfumed oils to enhance their elevated status. This was a clever move considering that deodorant wasn't invented for another 1,000 years or so. Following the bathing ritual, a team of stylists specializing in various aspects, such as footwear and wigs, would assist with dressing. It would be quite entertaining to witness a makeover montage of this process. Ancient Egyptian royals valued wigs as the ultimate symbol of prestige. Wearing wigs was such a serious matter that laws were even established to determine who had the privilege to wear them. Slaves, for example, were legally prohibited from wearing wigs, while the quality of the wig improved with higher social status. Royal wigs were the most elaborate, sometimes even adorned with gold and silver threads. Considering the intense heat of ancient Egypt, these wigs must have been uncomfortable and malodorous. In positions of great power, ancient Egyptian royals had numerous responsibilities, often resulting in constant meetings. Diodorus, the Greek historian, claimed that their actions were guided by established rules, covering administrative decisions, daily activities, and food choices. However, the accuracy of this portrayal is debated. Egyptologist Adolf Ehrman suggests that Diodorus' depiction was an idealized concept rather than reality. Regardless, pharaohs were obliged to fulfill religious and legal duties, participating in ceremonies and making judgments daily. Their routines were likely meticulously organized to handle the overwhelming workload. Just imagine the complexity of their hieroglyph-filled schedules. Considering their immense power, one wonders if they occasionally canceled a meeting or two. Not a morning person? Well, tough luck. Shortly after waking up, pharaohs were immediately briefed on administrative matters and engaged with a network of officials to manage affairs. Their mornings were typically dedicated to receiving guests, holding audiences, and resolving urgent issues. There was no option to skip these tasks. According to Diodorus, they were mandatory. Just imagine having an administrative meeting every single morning in a world where coffee hadn't been invented yet. While limos and sports cars weren't available in ancient times, pharaohs still traveled in a stylish manner. Ever heard of a sedan? Not the four-door car, but a chair with long poles that servants used to lift it off the ground while the pharaoh sat. When pharaohs ventured outside the palace complex, they were transported in sedan chairs carried by servants. Although these ancient sedans may not appear as luxurious as a Ferrari, they did have a form of air conditioning in the presence of royal fan bearers. Serving as fan bearers could indicate a close personal relationship with the pharaoh, and some suggest that they may have also served as part of the pharaoh's bodyguard. It sounds like a clever way to keep both the fans and the guards in shape. Although most ancient Egyptians practiced monogamy, kings were allowed to have multiple wives, and they took full advantage of this privilege. Male pharaohs had a primary royal wife, who held the highest rank, as well as several lesser wives, concubines, and harems. The size of the harem was seen as a display of the king's wealth. However, being a member of the harem was not always pleasant, as the pharaoh could demand nightly appointments with a specific wife. As a result, pharaohs often had numerous children. For instance, Ramses II is said to have fathered over 100 children with his wives and concubines. However, since these children were often in a separate part of the palace, it can be assumed that he was not very involved in their upbringing. Nevertheless, they would have access to tutors and nurses. Pharaohs would often engage in city tours, drawing large crowds of onlookers. They had the authority to choose the locations for temple construction and might visit construction sites. While all pharaohs invested in building projects, Ramses II was notably prolific in this regard. He used these projects as a means of showcasing his power and influence, using them as propaganda. Pharaohs held the dual roles of divine figures and developers, which could be seen as a potent and potentially negative combination of power. While pharaohs emphasized their divine connection, they were just as mortal as everyone else. In fact, many of them likely had poor health. The practice of frequent intermarriage and incest led to shallow gene pools, resulting in genetic issues. King Tutankhamun, for instance, suffered from genetic problems that caused a limp. Additionally, the royals' diets, which were high in fats and carbohydrates, took a toll on their health. Many pharaohs were overweight and suffered from heart disease. Hatshepsut, for example, was likely both diabetic and obese. These health problems related to their diets were somewhat ironic, considering claims by Diodorus that the royal family followed strict dietary rules for their well-being. It seems that the royals may have indulged a bit too much in cheap meals. If you think your family has its share of issues, imagine being a member of the Egyptian royal family. Pharaohs often faced challenges to their authority from within their own kin. In 1155 BC, Ramses III was a victim of the harem conspiracy, orchestrated by one of his wives, who aimed to secure power for her son. Hatshepsut and her successor also had to navigate troublesome family members during their reigns. Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, even engaged in a civil conflict with her younger brother and husband to consolidate her authority in 48 BC. Perhaps family counseling could have helped. The lives of ancient Egyptian royals were undoubtedly vibrant and full of excitement, from busy workdays to thrilling leisure activities, providing constant entertainment for these adorned pharaohs and their entourages. So, would you like to live this experience for a week? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining us on Interesting Day. See you next time.